No, I mean, I've been to Corinth before. You had a temple on top, I mean, on a big shelf rock up there. You had a temple, I think to the goddess Athena. I can't remember, but you had temple prostitutes. You had people in this church, dads and sons sleeping with the same women. You had divisions in this church. I mean, you had a messy church situation in a very pluralistic or secular context. And Paul's trying to bring some order to it. And he's trying to say, when you come, it needs to be orderly so that people don't think it's chaotic. And you've got people speaking in tongues at this church. And he's just simply, I think, trying to say, when you come, you need to come in reverence. When you come, you need to come being willing to submit to each other and be orderly. When you come, you need to come with the idea that that God's going to speak here and that the community is going to be able to discern that and be blessed. And so those two ones that you referenced, to me, are very much in line with that book talking about, here's my pastoral thoughts to you on how to bring some semblance of order to this very immature baby community of faith. Does that make sense? So I don't think there's a need to say, was this one right or wrong? I think that's completely taken out of context. I also don't think that we jump in and say, let me take this one and then go paste it into the 10 Commandments over here, which is what's been done for a large part of certainly the conservative, and we're a conservative church, but a large part of the conservative church historically in America. So I think, the best way to interpret Scripture is with Scripture. You interpret a verse in terms of a paragraph in terms of a chapter in terms of the book, and that book in terms of the rest of Scripture. And so rightly understanding things is taking it and really trying to wrestle it to the ground. And that's what Jesus was saying to the Pharisees. Is like, man, you guys have taken this no Sabbath thing and turned it into a weapon. I mean, you've turned it into a weapon. Here I am healing somebody, and you're like upset because I'm doing it on the Sabbath. Like, do you realize what you've done? You've completely taken the Sabbath command and blown it to this thing that it now does the opposite of what God would want it to do. To where the Son of Man, the Lord of the Sabbath, can't even, out of my love and compassion for somebody, heal them on the Sabbath. That's crazy, right? And I'd say the same thing about, here's this woman who's blessed and gifted and has learned amazing things, gone through amazing things, and is serving God in this way, that way. And so it's kind of like, this is what the whole thing is about. I should be jumping up and down and doing cartwheels. Look at this example of faith. Look at this person that we can learn from. Look at this person that has these experiences. Look at what they can share with the community. And instead of out of that joy and like, man, that's it. That's the picture. Like Jesus did with Mary, sister of Martha. Like this is someone who gets it. Instead of doing that like Jesus did, we've come back and said, now we got to ignore that because that person doesn't have the office of pastor, or that's a woman, and we're doing the same thing to that gender deal as what the Pharisees were doing to the Sabbath. And that comes from reading Scripture too thinly or not in the correct way to understand what's really going on. So, I mean, hopefully that helps a little bit. That might open a can of worms. Happy to chase it if somebody's got a follow-up. I don't have a clock, so someone's going to need to tell me when we get close to 12. But follow up on that or new question.